show. So the first question here is, from your reaction, is it a GE specific thing, or is this something that we need to be concerned about, as many still wonder how pensions get resolved in a lot of these troubled states, companies, and more?
Well, good to be with you, Oliver. And I would just say that my first reaction was, this is a GE thing looking to reduce its pension deficit. That's a key here. This is par for the course in terms of corporate America, removing itself from pension plans and shifting over to what are called defined contribution or 401k plans. So from my perspective, this is nothing new, but you did intimate in your opening comment that there are multi-employer union plans that are under significant pressure, that need some help, and things are going on in the Congress there, and there are some pension plans around public pension plans that need some help as well.
So this is obviously, we're talking the private part here, and that's a good point to bring up, right? There's a company situation, as we know, for GE. What happens at some of the municipalities that are encumbered by big pension debt is another. But walk me through, Jeff, kind of what this means in terms of the severity of the situation. It sounds like this is kind of a run-of-the-mill way to try and free up money. Is that the case, or does it signal that there's problems with their debt?
Well, I think they are trying to free up money. I mean, by all accounts, they're looking to reduce their overall corporate debt. A pension plan is a significant liability. And just keep in mind that the GE pension plan in particular was frozen to new entrants back in 2012. So what that means is new employees who join the company would automatically go into a 401k plan or defined contribution plan where they make the contribution. So, they're looking, GE in this move is looking to offload some debt in the future. It can do that by freezing its pension plan, which essentially means you no longer accrue benefits for these 20,000 employees. They don't lose benefits, but they no longer accrue benefits in accordance with the formula.
Now, one of the other things we've talked about here, we had a guest on recently, Jeff, that discussed more companies in America basically giving employees options of lump sum payments to get basically out of the recurring commitment at a lower price, but there's limitations to that basically, and it's almost like a game theory thing where employees kind of have to choose which one they want because it's only available to certain people. Are you familiar with this?
Absolutely, and in fact, that's the case here, where they're offering General Electric, is offering a lump sum buyout to over 100,000 employees. And you're right, you've got to take it, right? You've got to be able to take it. You have to go through each individual employee. They assign a packet of information and agree to do it. But it's a very common practice as companies are looking to wind down their pension plans and look into alternative retirement strategies.
Now, from your experience, Jeff, working with financial planning, retirement as well on the pension front, the fallout from this, I mean, is there a step then that we have to take to go from GE to what it means to the employees in terms of their own sort of livelihood? Or is the point here, look, you've got an option, figure out which one makes most sense, but either way, you're still getting paid, right? Either the lump sum up front, or if you don't get into the basically not a lottery, but if you don't do it before the rest of the workers choose to, because there's a limited number, right? Depending on how many people take the deal, then it limits how many they can actually pay out, right? So it's kind of this give and take scenario.
Absolutely. This is a very important decision that needs to be made on behalf of each individual participant or employee and their family. They should sit down amongst themselves and potentially with a financial advisor, someone that they trust, that they've vetted, to walk through the different scenarios, because these have implications. And this is not to be taken lightly at all.
How much can we use this blueprint for other companies? If one were to basically just take a screen and go, here are the companies with the biggest pension burdens, what determines whether a company can use this as an option? Is it basically is it simple and vanilla enough that any company can go and do this, or do you have to have certain kind of qualifications? Do you have to have enough people to be able to pull this off? Do you have to have a big enough employee workforce to pull it off? What are the limitations to doing this?
Well, I think one of the things that's really differentiated GE is that they do not have a big union presence. A lot of times, so when you look at like a General Motors or one of these other bigger industrials, they tend to have a union presence, and so these things can get negotiated, and they're not just, the employer doesn't just wave a magic wand and make this happen. So it's very unique in terms of this with GE. Now, it doesn't mean that it couldn't happen with a plan that has a large collectively bargained contingent. It also doesn't mean that it couldn't happen with a smaller plan. Look, at the end of the day, corporations are looking to improve their financials, and one way to do this is to remove themselves of this liability. You have seen other pension plans that when they get into a certain situation, they will do what's called a pension risk transfer, which means take the pension liability and transfer it to an insurance company.
Like FedEx did, right?
A pension. I'm sorry?
Yeah, FedEx did this, what you're describing, where they basically offloaded to an insurer.
I'm sorry. Yes. Yeah, I'm sorry. I couldn't hear you initially, but yes. And that's an option. Now, these are options that are available to corporate, and I say corporate, 401, corporate and not-for-profit organizations that sponsor pension plans, although there aren't many not-for-profits these days that sponsor these plans because they're very expensive.